You know, I'll tell you what, and I will. I'm going to say it. I'm going to make it clear. I didn't start it. I'm not saying that my actions that I unintentionally caused didn't start the video, but I didn't press record intentionally. I must have pressed on something that made it decide it wanted to film right then. I'm getting ready to film, but I just wasn't quite. I'm still in the process of processing my request to get ready to film this. Anyway, y'all ready or what? Y'all ready or nah? You know, it's all about gravity. So much of it's just about gravity, the physical function of the human being, or the physical functioning. Wow. What's up, y'all? Alright, my name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I know we're in the shade of the trees. It should be quieter here slightly from the wind noise, from the airplane noise. And not so hot when it's around 100 degrees Fahrenheit here in Utah, okay, the United States of America, where we're based as In The Image Clothing Company, specifically St. George, Utah. But In The Image Clothing Company, what are we, who are we, why are we here? Why is our slogan allowing the body to work when we're a clothing company? Well, we're only a clothing company, really, to get to the physical functioning of the human being and do what our slogan is here on our main side, one of the 4 sides to In The Image Clothing Company, and allow the body to work. Okay, wow, yeah. Clothing, the literal wording of anything physically placed on our bodies, no matter what it is: hats, glasses, shoes, socks, tops, undergarments, pants, jewelry, anything at all. If I take this pair of pants here that I'm going to show in this video and I put it over my shoulder, I'm clothing my shoulder with my pants. Okay, yikes, this is actually awesome. I like this location. I like to not be dying of heat if it's not time to yet. Oh my goodness. This video's title, the 7th of July, 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, Stretchy Pant Material and the Glutes. We're going to talk about this clothing, the only thing physically placed on us. Well, it's physically placed on our physical bodies. Our physical bodies are placed on this physical earth. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Abiding by universal laws like gravity, we have a universal pull that's vertical to the gravity of the planet Earth. It comes down and meshes with the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. There's something crawling up my leg. There's a 90-degree angle, okay, a right perpendicular angle, gravity coming down with its vertical pull to the horizontal surface of the Earth. The body's got a center line, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw stabilizing the entire body with musculature up to the crown of the head, down to the upper ribs, and out to the edges of our shoulders. The jaw musculature going through the collars of our tops. I was seriously checking to see if it was recording for sure. It's you know, almost as if I haven't done this hundreds of times. Clothing has to, at very least, stay centered, fit correct, and be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. There's no opinion on what it means to do these things. There's a centered pull to gravity, okay, so staying centered, clothing has to. There's a center line to our bodies that meshes with Earth's vertical gravity pull. We've got even opposing musculature from the center line of our bodies, okay? So, fitting correct, things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts. It's just what it is. And then 100% natural materials is the goal in all the ways we possibly can. It's the only thing that actually exists. Us as human beings, we take unnatural things from natural things, okay? Wow. So these pants, for example, these are a blend of material, okay? They have some stretch to them. Stretch in clothing only exists as of tens of years ago from today's date, okay? But just 2026 in general, but this time period in general. You start weaving different types of material together and they just react differently with each other than just the same material woven together, and it can stretch. But also just these unnatural materials that have been invented, polys, you know, plastics, plastic blends, and things like this. made by human beings. Well, it damages the natural body. The body is only what we eat, literally. The human being has just become this, but it's only the earth, right? We eat plants that grow from the earth, or animals that eat plants that grow from the earth, and it becomes the human being. The body of the human being dies and decomposes back into the planet Earth, but it's always been the same stuff. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. So, yeah, that's the goal, is unnatural materials. It's the only thing possible until we make things as human beings that are unnatural from natural things. But stretch, we just talk about having no stretch in clothing, ever, in all the ways we can never have it. Let's not, right? Muscles of the body, they only pull. Muscles connect to bones through tendons, the insertions from the muscle to the bone. So muscles pull to do both sides of a function. Muscles pull and close a hinge joint, like the elbow, but opposing muscles pull to extend a hinge joint, like the elbow, the same joint. There's just muscles only pulling. It's just on opposite sides of the function. So bones are only the shape and length that they are. The body grows by itself. The body of the human being, designed in the image of God, in the image of Jesus Christ. We're a clothing company, just to be very intentional about anything we choose to literally clothe the human being with, so we don't alter the body's only workings. Bones just are only the shape and length that they are. They connect directly to each other through ligaments, with just a thin layer of cushioning called cartilage between them, and they can only do what they do, and nothing else. Only what they do, and nothing else. Meaning they can only mesh the way they mesh. They're extremely specifically shaped on the ends, as you can see here with my bones of my hands, with just a thin layer of skin over them, the knuckles. That's how the body is. That's literally the body. You're seeing it visually. There's only one way the human body could ever work, and so clothing, stretch in clothing specifically. This video is titled the 7th of July 2026 under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. Stretchy pant material and the glutes. The glute muscles, okay, are on the rear of our pelvis. Okay, the pelvis is the hip structure. At the hips, we've got these two legs coming down on either side and straight down to the feet. Okay, the feet evenly oppose the center line of the human being, and they grip arches inward to keep us vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. Above the hips, we come to the center line of the body, and that's the spine, where we bend side to side, but the spine's the only vertical support bone-wise the body has above the hips. And it's in the direct center. So, at the hips, we've got functioning happening, okay? And on the rear of the hip structure, or the pelvis structure, there's muscles back here called glutes, okay? The glute medius, the glute max, the glute minimus, right? Multiple glutes. And these glute muscles are just pulling the pelvis down in the rear, and they're pulling the pelvis open, essentially back, okay? And the body just all works together. Everything in the body's there, connected. It's called a kinetic chain, meaning a chain of things connected together to have motion in them. We talk about the human being as just being a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. It's just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations determined by the shape and length of our own individual bones, but there's a universal human design. So we're all the same. Okay, unless you're extremely uniquely, small percentile different, and we address that if and where needed, but there's this universal human design designed in the image of God, in the Image Clothing Company. Here you are. The 7th of July, 2026, a video under our main side titled Stretchy Pant Material and the Glutes. Okay? So what happens is this vertical pull to gravity has our body's bends evenly opposing it from bottom to top, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to stay vertical. The ankles go backward, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backward. We're going to talk about the hips here quite a bit. The low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, the upper back bends forward. The upper back's the neck, the cervical spine, This is just to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. We have to evenly oppose it back and forth with the bends. So what the glutes are doing, a lot of what the glute muscles are doing, and there's multiple different glutes, is they pull the pelvis or the hip structure down in the rear. And what this does is it straightens our bodies more. Vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. Now, the straighter up we stand, the easier it is to stand. Up, straight. Okay, the less effort it takes for the body's musculature to oppose Earth's vertical gravity pull, because our bones just will stack vertically, okay? Gravity actually pulls us into good posture. It truly does. If the body's not altered by anything, God designed the body to work. But what's going to alter the body the most direct, physically? Well, the only thing physically placed on it, whatever it is that we choose to clothe our bodies with. Okay? In the Image Clothing Company. The 7th of July, 2026. This is our main site here and one of our videos. The title is Stretchy Pant Material and the Glutes. Okay? So, muscles above the hips in the front pull up, with muscles below the hips, essentially, in the rear, pulling down. Now this straightens us up more, okay? The glutes are these muscles in the rear pulling down. Okay, this is what we call a posterior rotation of the pelvis. The hips have a neutral, it's the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. Okay, it's the same as the bottom of our feet. It's the same as the term zero drop in any brand of shoe, just flat. But the hips being flat, front to back, they can come up in the front and down in the rear. And that's a posterior rotation of the pelvis. This is straightening the body as much as it could, really, vertically, right? The pelvis can also go the other way, though, lower in the front and higher in the rear. And this is an anterior rotation of the pelvis from the neutral. So the glutes are half of the functioning. Well, they're on the rear half of the body, pulling down to have a posterior tuck of the pelvis happening, with muscles on the front half of the body pulling up, okay? So from just neutral, standing normal, it looks like this. Muscles in the front pull up, and muscles in the rear, the glutes are one of them, pull down, okay? And then we've got a posterior tuck of the pelvis. But this is our body nice and vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. So, yikes, there's a bug in my mouth, seriously. So that's one of the big things the glutes do, is pull down on the pelvis in the rear, okay? And we've got to realize the entire body has opposing muscles, and that's how we stabilize our bodies. Muscles always come secondary to the bones. They connect to the bones. The bones are always there. There's only one position the entire body has, and it's a neutral position. Working all together, activated as a whole, there's always a neutral position to everything in the entire human being. The jaw, the wrist, the ankle, everything though. The pelvis, like we're saying. But the pelvis, as one of the things, can only stay neutral if all the musculature that's allowing the pelvis to have motion can work. So this video's title on the 7th of July 2026 under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, Stretchy Pant Material and the Glutes. Muscles only pull, okay? These glute muscles have to pull. But what do? We bend over where we do. You bend over to pick something up. What's clothing your body? Well, clothing. Pants, though, around the glutes are literally clothing your pelvis. Pants sitting in the proper location, at the natural waist, above the hip bones, and below those lowest rib bones, okay? No matter how you carry fat content, it's between bones here. Pant waistline, because we can only bend side to side of the spine, okay, while keeping both of our feet on the ground. Okay, anatomically, like I'm saying, the spine's in the center line of the body, so it can just move side to side. The legs can't. They're on either side of the body, below the hips. Spine's above the hips. At the hips, we've got the pelvis. Well, the pelvis is the hips, right? At the rear of the pelvis, we've got the glutes. Now, when we bend over, the pants are being pressed against our glute muscles, okay? Bend over to pick up these pants for the visual in this video, and the pants I'm wearing are being pressed against my glute muscles, okay? But the glute muscle is pulled down on the pelvis in the rear to straighten the pelvis. And even though we're bending the pelvis, the body always has two opposing sides pulling against each other to stabilize in a neutral position. And just to stabilize the entire body, there's always that neutral position that's still there, even if we're bent outside of it, like bending over at the hips. Okay? But if we put pressure against our pants with our glutes, just because when you bend over that happens, okay, and there's stretchy material on the glute muscles only pull together, just as all muscles in the entire body only pull. That's the only way they possibly work. Stretch goes the opposite direction. Okay? Let's talk about this. There's an airplane though. Wait for the noise. Alright. So, to have the body stable, right? The glutes have to really be just always working, contracted, pulling their muscles. That's what they are. Pulling bones to support the bones. But if the muscles of the glutes are trying to pull and the pant material is trying to stretch, it's a clash, going two opposite directions. And that doesn't work. And you know what In the Image Clothing Company's slogan is here under our main side? Allowing the body to work. Because God designed the body to work. That's why we have it. That's why we discuss it as what it is, truly, just this mechanical machine placed onto Earth, right? It's just a rock in space. And gravity requires us to stay standing up by stabilizing musculature. Okay? And muscles only contract. So that's a big point. Okay? One of the big things about this video's title, on the 7th of July, 2026, under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, stretchy pant material and the glutes. Just bending over alone. It's hard to just stabilize to stay standing up because your muscles are trying to pull against material that's trying to pull away. And it's just this battle. It's really hard, actually, for your body to do physically. But this gets amplified if we sit down or lay down even, putting pressure against the material with our glutes, with the bottom of our pelvis that our glutes are connecting into, right? Yeah. You sit down and you put weight on your pant material, and if you've got stretchy pant material, your glute muscles are trying to pull together, your pant material is stretching apart. And so what happens is you sit down against that stretchy pant material and your legs can't be stabilized by your glutes because your glutes are trying to pull together. Not only do the glutes pull down in the rear of the pelvis like this to aid in one half, like the rear side of the body's functioning to create a posterior rotation of the pelvis. The glutes work with the hamstring muscles, the muscles on the rear of the upper legs, to pull down, while muscles on the front of our bodies above the hips pull up. Posterior rotation of the pelvis. But we've also got glute muscles that pull from the sides of the hips back. This little glute medius in the side of the hip here, it pulls from more like the side of the hip crest, like the very sides of our bodies, kind of up and back. So it really opens the legs. But this is all happening at the same time. So as our glutes pull down in the rear, they're pulling open with the pelvis as well. And so we go posterior and open. And now we're just open. And our bodies can work, have all their motion because the hips are open. But if the hips close off, the rest of the body closes off because it's all a chain. And if the body can't just naturally stabilize because it's put against this material that's just stretching away as the muscles are only ever able to pull, but we're encapsulated within stretchy pant material and the glutes, this video's title, under the main side of In The Image Clothing Company on the 7th July 2026, can't stabilize, okay? Within the stretchy pant material, the glutes can't stabilize, and so we've got glutes pulling down to get a posterior rotation of the pelvis. We've got glutes pulling back to open the hips up, and a combination of things like this, working with other muscles throughout the body as well, the whole body just working together. It's not able to happen though because the glutes are physically placed against this material that's just pulling away. All the muscles can ever possibly do to work is pull together. So stretch in pant material, stretch in clothing anywhere, stretch in life that we're interacting with our hands even, or our feet. It's all just musculature. If this body's gonna work, it's gonna work. The only way it can is if the muscles pull together. This man-made stretch that doesn't exist in nature. I mean, you're never going to be coming across things in nature that you have to interact with the way that we have stretchy things made by human beings. Maybe there's something in nature that stretches in some form, but even in our man-made clothing, it didn't even exist like broad spread across the earth until just tens of years ago. From around this time period, 2026. So, we talk about physically weak people. Meaning, it's a video's title currently under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. There's a lot of things in modern 2026 and going forth, inventions of human beings, things in our modern man-made world that's placed onto God's natural earth, and things especially physically placed on us, the literal word of clothing our bodies, that are weakening our bodies. For muscles to be able to work, they have to pull together. Stretch in clothing pulls away. Stretchy pant material and the glutes don't mesh. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's always been the exact same, designed in the image of God. What has not been the exact same and keeps changing and always will if and where it does is man-made clothing designs placed onto a God-made body. The body grows by itself, it's only what it is. Once our bodies grow, we can choose to make things with them that don't work for our bodies. We can design clothing, but we didn't design the human being. No stretch, okay? I mean, I make it clear as the founder and leader for life of In The Image Clothing Company, no stretch anywhere ever in clothing. It'll damage your body, okay? But here's a specific example and an explanation of specifically in one item of clothing here, pant material. All right, it'll do things to the knees, it'll do things just to any part of the body that the pants are going to be against if you've got stretch in clothing, but specifically on the glutes for this video's discussion, just bending over, it'll stretch away from your glute muscles pulling together. Sitting down, especially now you've got weight against the material, it's just having a greater effect on pulling away when the glute muscles only pull together to work. And then laying down, if you're sleeping in stretchy clothing or just laying on the ground or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, ever, your muscles only can ever possibly work by pulling together. And so stretch always just goes the opposite direction. That's the definition of it. That's what it means. It's stretching away from itself. So there you go, okay? The 7th of July, 2026, in the Image Clothing Company's main site here. Stretchy pant material and the glutes. All right, there you go. Okay, so the point is the legs will just roll in, because imagine the material behind the glutes, which are on the rear of the pelvis or the hip structure. This material is pulling away. Just look at the location that'll take the legs. The knees will come in together, because the glutes, like I was saying, that glute medius specifically, kind of on the sides of the hips, it pulls up and back like this. Well, it spans from bottom to top, up and back, but really it's pulling back and down. Okay. We discussed the anatomy of the human body here in depth under In the Image Clothing Company. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing to not alter the body, to do what our slogan is here under our main side. One of our fourths, allowing the body to work. Universal clothing imbalances shipped across the entire earth in modern 2026 that didn't even exist in the past, but we've got technology now to ship them across the whole planet. And this universal human design, having universal imbalances placed onto it, what we really do here under In the Image Clothing Company, how we really allow the body to work, with our slogan being allowing the body to work, is we get out of chronic patterning. Oversized clothing, when we don't have joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, pockets, zippers, buttons, seams that are rotating, stitched by robots in modern day, collar seams, imbalanced collars when they need to stay centered and snug, because there's even opposing musculature from the neck and the jaw going through the collars of our tops. Things like shoelaces, drawstrings that are just ropes now tied on or around the body that we can potentially tie one side over the other and twist the entire body. It doesn't matter what it is, anything at all. You could possibly call the literal word of clothing your body with anything. If it's not working for your body, the only way your body works, day after day, month after month, year after year, potentially almost an entire lifetime of doing this, having these imbalances placed, we could say in clothing, but really it's on our bodies. Because everything we're doing in life, we do it in and through our clothing. Well, the body builds up scar tissue. It builds up bone spurs. Muscles pull on bones in positions where the bones don't track in line, just the only way they're shaped and connect on the ends. And yeah, damage happens. So we got to get out of these patternings. You know, a normal front and back patterning of walking with the arms swinging, if it's twisted by like a drawstring rope, one side over the other, now the body's just twisted. Different rotations from internal or external rotation on either side of the body, you know, and all these things. Look at this spider. Woo! It's a jumping spider. He jumped off my pants, actually. Big black jumping spider with like white stripes on it. Anyway, yeah, chronic patterning gets built up in the body, so we've got to rid the patterning just to have our bones just be able to work the only way they're shaped on the ends and connect to each other. There's no possible opinion to it. It's just mathematics. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. But things like this, stretch in clothing is one of the things. When I list off some of the imbalances that are in clothing and universally shipped across the entire earth in modern day, you know, that didn't happen before it did. Stretch. And people just don't know if they don't know what it's doing to their bodies. You know, we don't know what we don't know. I wore stretchy clothing until I was about 24 years old. Just where I did. I mean, if my clothing that I purchased was a blend of material or was stretchy, and it, so often it was, then it just was. And I didn't know to even check. Let's see if I can get this spider on the camera, but he's back on my pants again. He jumped off. Anyway, it's just what it is, man. like I say, you don't have to care to even want to try to start to think you could care a little bit at all about clothing. And it's definitely not anything to do with fashion, necessarily. I guess you could choose to care about fashion, but it's your only body. You only get one of them in this life. And there's only one way it works. And so stretch truly just goes the exact opposite direction of the only way the muscles work in the body. The only way the body works is if the muscles pull to work, okay? Because what we've got is just this skeletal frame of the human being that just has to stay supported, or else it's just not. So the thing is, what happens is if the glutes don't work properly, the pelvis goes anterior. But as I was saying, you know, when we have the glutes working properly, and we have a posterior rotation of the pelvis, that's the most vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull we could actually get. Even more straightened than just the neutral, okay? And so, the harder it will be for your body, the more your pelvis goes anterior. Lower in the front and higher in the rear. But this happens if the glute muscles don't work. Now you've got an excessive bend in your body, and you know that's a bend now down through your knees to your ankles, to your feet, a bend up through your spine to the base of your skull. This is all just because you've got some stretchy material in your pants. And your glutes can't work because it's directly opposing the direction your glutes pull to work. And so this is the case with any part of the entire human being. Remember, there's always a neutral to everything in the entire body. You know, I feel like I'm doing dance routines out here. There's not a problem with that, but you know, when I do stuff like that. Anyway, it's about the visuals, you know, it's about the date mark documentation in the Image Clothing Company. We're permanent. I'm here for life, you know, as the founder and leader, me, Evan Strong, and our team will build and our poodles will build. Stick around and find out, but yeah, there you go. The 7th of July, 2026. Pant material that is stretchy will damage your entire body. Okay. Stretchy pant material and the glutes. So, thank you. There's your explanation. There's a lot more we could say with it, and it affects the entire body. But the basic understanding anatomy-wise, anatomically, okay, the pelvis goes anterior, the knees come forward and in, just because picture something in the rear of your body just stretching around your body. Look at the position my body's in here versus if my glutes are working. The exact opposite position of what stretchy pant material will put your body into. It's just how the body works, right? All right, thank you. Check out the other 3 sides of In The Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. In The Image Clothing Company Poodles. Right, we specialize in the large or standard size purebred poodle, but we give information that applies to all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. It's the same thing we explain with allowing the body to work here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, but it's for dogs. In the Image Clothing Company podcast with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 209 as of today's date, the 7th of July, 2026. Deep insights on life. I mean, we discuss the gospel of Jesus Christ, but it's just life. We're all human beings, the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It just is what it is. Every generation of human beings has different problems in the same ways or the same problems in different ways. It's just life. In the Image Clothing Company music, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. We show sizing and setup of guitar to not alter the body as well. But there's a lot we do here. You know, we'll always have good clothing. Doing at least the very basic 3 things, okay, for sure, in all the ways we can. Staying centered, fitting correct, and being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. But, you know, we discuss modifying how we approach our lives, living in this modern man-made unnatural world placed onto God's natural earth. And a lot more things as well, right? In-person events based in St. George, Utah. Check us out, right? Check us out. And thank you, because everybody who has one and everyone who has a body, every human being to ever live on any end of time, is who our information applies to under In the Image Clothing Company.